Well, I've been making art my whole life. I did start out in um, painting and drawing, and then transitioned to fabric. I did not start out as a traditional quilter. I actually never tried using a sewing machine until oh, I don't know, when I was about 30. So, but I did like the idea of playing with fabric once I started because uh, with paint you can get one color or maybe mix a color, but with fabric I found that using a whole lot of different printed and textured fabrics, I could get a lot more interesting textures and essentially paint with fabric as opposed to paint on fabric or canvas. So while I still do both, I really enjoy using a painterly and improvisational kind of impressionistic approach to using fabric as an art medium. I
Yeah.
also I teach everywhere in the world. I've taught everywhere from Israel to Australia to South America, and I've written two books on portrait quilting, and I have my work circulating in numerous international exhibits. I have it in several museums and so on. So I've been doing this for a while. Well, I take photographs everywhere and all the time. And for inspiration, generally speaking, I look at my own photographs. However, some of those photographs are photographs of uh, art at galleries or museums and so on. So I won't say that it's that I'm just looking at, you know, people or places that I've done. So, but basically, I I kind of review my photographs a lot, and it reminds me of exhibits, of different artists, of people, of places, and so on. And just that, I probably have 100,000 photos, and I just kind of keep scanning them. Um, I think it's everybody has a way of expressing themselves, of putting their feelings into words, of interacting with the world. And I think as artists, we interact with the world by reflecting back the color and emotions and feelings by putting them into whatever our design, whatever our work is. And to me, uh, it's kind of a way of interacting with the world. The first thing is to have a palette, as you can probably see behind me. In order to have a palette of fabric, you have to have a large variety of colors and values and textures and so on. And that's the most important thing. And then I have a cutting table and a sewing machine and a quilting machine and all of those tools that we use to do it. But the most important thing is to have materials to work with. One one other aspect of the technique is the fact that I wanted the background to kind of recede. So although I wanted the sunshine to be there, I wanted to blend it a little bit more. And you can use fabric to to highlight or blend or to to be dominant. And by using non-traditional quilting fabrics like shears and so on, you can get all sorts of interesting effects. And so you can see the background, the sky is kind of all blended together with sheer fabric over it, so that it wouldn't fight with the foreground with the penguins and their location. So I guess there's that too. have fun with fabrics, use everything that's out there. You're not restricted to any particular kind of fabric, thread, ink, whatever works, use it. It depends. It varies a lot. Sometimes something will come to me at 10 o'clock at night and I'll start working on it and it'll be done in 3 days because I don't stop working on it. Other things, you think about them, and every time I go through the photos, I say, "Oh yeah, there's that one," and "Oh yeah, there's that idea." Uh, but the and sometimes if there's a particular challenge, it sort of sparks an idea, and I go back to. But usually, I'll get a piece done within a week. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'll work for a while with a lot of cut up printed fabrics in a very collagey type of a style. And sometimes I'll go to my paints and pastels and start adding some of that. But it all comes back to I, color and design and value. I work mostly more or less representational. I'd say sometimes abstract representational, but I don't do pure abstract. So that hasn't really changed. I think hopefully I've gotten more techniques under my belt so that I can use them when I need them. The funny thing is, coming from a painting background, uh, paying attention to the final little details that can just be distracting on a fiber art piece if it's not done nicely is probably the biggest challenge. The 95% that it starts with is fine. It's that last little bit of just tweaking it and seeing what might need to be changed. That's the most challenging part for me. I do a lot of birds anyway, and I love penguins too. But so when I see a challenge subject for some sort of an exhibit, I tend to look at it and see how can I do this as either people, birds, or animals. And the challenge for that particular piece, the first challenge for it, was for um, a show with the theme of Southern Sunshine. And I just thought, well, how far south can we go? Well, my penguins are about as far south as as you can go. So that was actually the inspiration for it was a Southern Sunshine, and it probably was very different from all the Southern Sunshine pieces in the exhibit. Well, the most fun take part of it was deciding that the penguins, are certainly not pure black, and finding some really fun, um, shiny and textured fabrics for the penguins was sort of, I thought, oh yes, this is penguin fabric when I saw it, and it kind of went from there. And then, drawing the penguins, drawing the design, just out of my head. I didn't uh, I didn't actually have any pictures myself of penguins, but I've seen plenty of pictures of penguins. So they may not be anatomically exactly accurate. And certainly the only place that I've seen penguins has been in places without snow, actually. I've seen penguins in the Galapagos and I've seen penguins in Australia, and neither
Mhm.
place were they in snow. They were, and in the Galapagos, they were actually on the cliffs. So
Mhm.
that's why these penguins are on cliffs rather than on Antarctic snow slabs. And
Mhm.
so that's how I started drawing it. And then I, found fun fabrics to use for all the different areas, which is the fun part, and
Mhm.
then just kind of stitch them together. I've actually I try to enter a lot of the Sakura exhibitions because I think I really support the idea of people realizing what great artistic potential there is in using fabric as opposed to other media. And so I do have pieces in, I think, 10 current Sakura shows and several others because, because I think that when people see how we can use fabric that way, it's really encourages other people to do it. I don't know. It's just fun to be in it. And as I say, I like to do birds. I love the idea of having exhibits that talk about birds. I support things like the Audubon Society. I think that birds are endangered in general. Not, obviously, probably penguins aren't. I mean, penguins are probably not endangered right now, but but birds in general are. It's just part of the whole climate and ecosystem and nature, and just birds represent the kind of the freedom of flying. They just appeal to me. And birds come in so many different shapes and forms, more than anything else. I think there's more variety in birds than any other animal species you could possibly talk about. And so I think it's really fun to have this exhibit. And I certainly trusted Martha to pick out really interesting bird pieces to put in it. Well, certainly I hope that they kind of appreciate the fact that penguins can be in several different environments, first of all, because I don't have them on the ice in this one. I'd
Mhm.
like them to kind of get the playful feeling that I think that I get with penguins. When you watch them walk, when you watch them, even when you watch them play, and you know in Australia the penguins actually play with balls and different things, and they seem to have a very they're just a cheerful animal to watch. Let's face it, the little penguins flopping around on. So by using playful fabrics to depict them, I think kind of just cements the idea of their personality. And I think they have a lot of personality. And
Mhm.
also the fact that, maybe it gets people to learn more about penguins, to learn about how they take care of their babies, how the fathers are so involved, how they're so paired for life, and how they learned, how awkward they might look on land and how amazingly fast they move in the water. When we were snorkeling in the Galapagos, we watched them just zip by, and it was like, you know, as fast as a bullet. It was just amazing to watch them. So maybe people will learn more about them and learn more about birds and the environment and what's happening with the climate in general. And I hope that people will take that away from the whole exhibit, because birds. Learn some of the principles of art first. I think a lot of people get into quilting by going to a quilting class or starting out as sewing garments or whatever, and they may be able to make much better stitches than me. But if they're interested in using fabric as an art medium, I think you need to get an art background. There are a zillion art classes around. You can take art courses, but don't just buy pre-made patterns and sew them together. Start whatever you do, start from your own ideas. Don't just copy, don't just cut out pre-made fabrics. And um, yes, you need to learn to use your sewing machine, but that's really far down on the list. Learn about value, learn about color, learn about those kinds of things before along with learning about how to manipulate fabric.